Santorum and Mr. Kaine. Let's talk about this debate between public sector life's work and private sector life's work. You've spent your life's work, Mr. Kaine, in the private sector, and Senator Santorum, most of yours in the public sector. Weigh in, Mr. Kaine, same question.
Let's cut to the chase. This is what business people do and politicians don't do. Here's how I would fix this economy. First, eliminate the current tax code. It is a drain on entrepreneurs. It's the biggest barrier that's holding this economy back. And what I would do is to propose a bold plan, which I've already released. I call it my 999 economic growth plan. Throw out the current tax code, a 9% tax on corporate income, a 9% tax on personal income, and a 9% national sales tax. If 10% is good enough for God, 9% ought to be good enough for the federal government. This would replace all federal income taxes. It will replace all federal income taxes. It will also replace the payroll tax, so everybody gets some skin in the game, and it replaces the capital gains tax. This economy is on life support. We do not need a solution that just trims around the edges. This is a bold plan and a bold solution. Additionally, with something as simple as 999, it gives us an easy mechanism to go after help those cities that are the most blighted in terms of empowerment zones. And we can modify that very easily versus the current code.
Mr. Kaine, thanks.
We're going to find solutions. And I have an offer for the two great governors over here. And I hate to rain on the parade of the great Lone Star governor, but as governor of Utah, we were the #1 job creator in this country during my years of service. That was 5.9% when you were creating jobs at 4.9%. And to my good friend Mitt, 47th just ain't going to cut it, my friend. Not when you can be first. We've got to remember that to beat President Obama, we have to have somebody who's been in the private sector, understands the fragility of the free market system, has been a successful governor as it relates to job creation, and knows something about this world.
The fact that President Obama doesn't come to the Reagan Library to try to figure out how to create jobs, doesn't talk to any of these three governors to learn how to create jobs, doesn't talk to Herman Cain to learn how to create jobs, tells you that this is a president so committed to class warfare and so committed to bureaucratic socialism that he can't possibly be effective in jobs.
Congresswoman Bachmann, let's turn to you. Is Governor Romney's support of an individual mandate in Massachusetts, is that disqualifying from the point of view of conservative voters?
Well, what I want to say is that Obamacare took over 1/6 of the American economy. And with all due respect to the governors, issuing an executive order will not overturn this massive law. This will take a very strong, bold leader in the presidency who will lead that effort.
Speaker Gingrich, it sounds like we've got a genuine philosophical disagreement. In Massachusetts, a mandate, almost no one uninsured. In Texas, a more limited approach, about a quarter uninsured. Who's got the better end of this argument?
Well, I'm frankly not interested in your effort to get Republicans fighting each other.
We've got a choice between the individual mandate and not. So anyway, go ahead.
You would like to puff this up into some giant thing. The fact is, every person up here understands Obamacare is a disaster. It is a disaster procedurally. It was rammed through after they lost Teddy Kennedy's seat in Massachusetts. It was written badly. It was never reconciled. It can't be implemented. It is killing this economy. And if this president had any concern for working Americans, he'd walk in Thursday night and ask us to repeal it because it's a monstrosity. Every person up here agrees with that.
Right.
And let me just say, since I still have a little time left, let me just say, I, for one, and I hope all of my friends up here, are going to repudiate every effort of the news media to get Republicans to fight each other to protect Barack Obama, who deserves to be defeated, and all of us are committed as a team. Whoever the nominee is, we are all for defeating Barack Obama.
The Catholic faith has, as a part of it, caring for the poor. 1 in 7 people in this country now qualifies as poor. Where do the poor come in? Where do they place in this party, on this stage, in a Santorum administration?
There is no one in the 12 years I was in the United States Senate that did more to work on poverty issues and working on the poor than Rick Santorum. I was the author, when I was in the House of Representatives, under the tutelage of Newt Gingrich at the time, of the Welfare Reform Act. And we didn't pass welfare reform to cut money. We didn't pass pass welfare reform to punish anybody. We changed the welfare system because it was punishing people. We had a federal system that was creating a culture of dependency. And we went out and talked to the American public and said, trust us to end this federal entitlement, put a work requirement in place, put a time limit on welfare, give the flexibility to the states with a block grant, and we will transform this system from a dependency system to a transitional system. And it worked. Half the people in this country were dropped off the rolls and they didn't go into poverty. In fact, poverty went to the lowest level ever in 2001. The rate of black poverty among children, lowest ever recorded. Working women who were never married went to the highest level, increased by 50%. We transformed the welfare system because we believed in the dignity of every human person to be able to provide for themselves. We believed in bottom up, not top down. We need to do the same thing with food stamps. We need to do the same thing with housing programs. All of these other means-tested entitlement programs that are creating a culture of dependency have to be changed, not to save money, but to save people's lives.
Time, Senator.
You, Governor Romney, referring to Congresswoman Bachmann's promise to get gas, if she becomes president, to down to $2 a gallon. Do you agree that a president realistically can do anything about gas prices in the free market?
Well, what the president can do is make sure that we stop sending about $500 billion a year outside our country, in many cases to nations that are not real friendly with ours, to buy energy from other people. We are an energy-rich nation, and we're living like an energy-poor nation, and that can't go on. So we've got to develop our oil, our gas, our coal resources, our clean coal, our nuclear power, and, of course, our renewable resources as well. If we develop those resources and we use our capacity to generate that energy in a wise way, we can have an impact on global energy prices. Can we get it down to $2? I'm not going to make that prediction. But I can tell you, we can become energy secure, and we can create jobs right here in the United States by developing our own energy resources. And this president, blocking offshore drilling, stopping the capacity to build new coal plants, this president having held up nuclear plants and not developing the Marcellus shale gas and other shale oil around this country, he's just strangling America's economy. It's keeping Americans from working. He keeps talking about green jobs. Where are they? Let's have real jobs. We can have energy jobs. Let's get that done. And if I'm president, I'm making that happen on day one.
Governor, I was trying to get your attention a little while ago. There's 8 of us up here. I'm a physician, but you sure weren't going to ask me any medical question. But I would like to address that just a little bit. First off, you know, the governor of Texas criticized the governor of Massachusetts for Romneycare, but he wrote a really fancy letter supporting Hillary Care. So we probably ought to ask him about that. But mandates, that's what the whole society is about. That's what we do all the time. That's what government does. Mandate, mandate, mandate. And what we talk so much about the Obama mandate, which is very important. But what about Medicare? Isn't that a mandate? Everything we do is a mandate. So this is why you have to look at this at the cause of liberty. We don't need the government running our lives.
Governor Perry, you said you wrote the book Fed Up to start a conversation. Congratulations. It's certainly done that in recent weeks. In the book, you call Social Security the best example of a program that, quote, violently tossed aside any respect for states' rights. We understand your position that it's got funding problems now. I'd like you to explain your view that Social Security was wrong right from the beginning.
Well, I think any of us that want to go back and change 70 years of what's been going on in this country is probably going to have a difficult time. And rather than spending a lot of time talking about what those folks were doing back in the 30s and the 40s is a nice intellectual conversation, but the fact is we got to be focused on how we're going to change this program. And people who are on Social Security today, men and women who are receiving those benefits today are individuals of my age that are on in line pretty quick to get them. They don't need to worry about anything. But I think the Republican candidates are talking about ways to transition this program. And it is a monstrous lie. It is a Ponzi scheme to tell our kids that are 25 or 30 years old today, you're paying into a program that's going to be there. Anybody that's for the status quo with Social Security today is involved with a monstrous lie to our kids, and it's not right.
Okay. Governor Perry, a 30-second rebuttal. Governor Romney said Vice President Cheney's right, and you're wrong about Ponzi scheme.
Well, here's, again, we're not trying to pick fights here.
Understood.
We're about fixing things. You can either have reasons or you can have results. And the American people expect us to put results in place. You cannot keep the status quo in place and not call it anything other than a Ponzi scheme. It is. That is what it is. Americans know that. And regardless of what anyone says, oh, it's not, and that's provocative language, maybe it's time to have some provocative language in this country and say things like, let's get America working again and do whatever it takes to make that happen.
All of you, I think, have said that you don't think immigration reform should be discussed until the border is secure. And, Governor, I'd like to ask you, border state governor, what specifically, in your mind, would make the border secure?
You can secure the border, but it requires a commitment of the federal government of putting those boots on the ground, the aviation assets in the air. We think Predator drones could be flown, that real-time information coming down to the local and the state and the federal law enforcement, and you can secure the border. And at that particular point in time, then you can have an intellectually appropriate discussion about immigration reform. For the President of the United States to go to El Paso, Texas and say that the border is safer than it's ever been, either he has some of the poorest intel of a president in the history of this country, or he was an abject liar to the American people. It is not safe on that border.
If we want to secure the border, we have to make sure we have a fence, technologically determining where people are, enough agents to oversee it, and turn off that magnet. We can't talk about amnesty. We cannot give amnesty to those who come here illegally. We got 4.7 million people waiting in line legally. Let's let those people come in first, and those that are here illegally, they shouldn't have a special deal.
Speak, Congressman. Your thoughts. Obviously, it's a very big problem. I think we need to remove the incentive, easy road to citizenship. Nobody has mentioned the fact that they qualify for benefits as well, you know, the welfare benefits that we shouldn't have to give. The state of Texas shouldn't be forced to provide free health care and free education.
Starting with you, Governor Romney, are you a member of the Tea Party?
I don't think you carry cards in the Tea Party. I believe in a lot of what the Tea Party believes in. The Tea Party believes that government's too big, taxing too much, and that we got to get to the work of getting Americans to work. So I put together a plan with a whole series of points of how we can get America's economy going again. Tea Party people like that. So if the Tea Party is for keeping government small and spending down and helping us create jobs, then, hey, I'm for the Tea Party. I didn't hear your answer with respect to Libya.
Well, I believe that it was wrong for the president to go into Libya. Number one, his own Secretary of Defense, Gates, said that there was no American vital interest in Libya. If there is no vital interest, that doesn't even meet the threshold of the first test for military involvement. The other thing is we didn't know who the rebel forces were in Libya.
Perry, a question about Texas. Your state has executed 234 death row inmates, more than any other governor in modern times. Have you struggled to sleep at night with the idea that any one of those might have been innocent?
No, sir, I've never struggled with that at all. The state of Texas has a very thoughtful, a very clear process in place of which when someone commits the most heinous of crimes against our citizens, they get a fair hearing. They go through an appellate process. They go up to the Supreme Court of the United States if that's required. But in the state of Texas, if you come into our state and you kill one of our children, you kill a police officer, you're involved with another crime and you kill one of our citizens, you will face the ultimate justice in the state of Texas, and that is you will be executed.